What's up, glitches? Welcome to my rambling review of Raging Bytes. So, this is a little something newish. This game is, at the time of this recording, at the time of its uploading, this game is probably only a few weeks old. And I can tell you right now, I already beat it. Took me personally about 10 hours, but that's because I explored everything, I grinded, etc., etc. And I had a pretty decent time with it. I'll tell you right now, if you like zombie films, zombie games, and RPGs, specifically turn-based RPGs, I think you'll have a pretty good time with it. Especially if you are an old fan of The Walking Dead. Specifically seasons 1 and 2. Maybe 3. You know, back when it was good. But yeah, Raging Bytes is a survival horror turn-based RPG set in a zombie apocalypse where this guy wakes up from a coma and just kind of has to piece together what the heck happened. And it ends up with in a situation where, you know, everyone has their own. You end up with a party of 4, and you end up, you know, just trying to survive. Whether you're trying to find, you know, your family members a place to call paradise, that you'd be safe, finding the truth, or just trying to scavenge whatever supplies you can for yourself. Either way, all the survivors are trying to live for one reason or another. Now, let's go with the gameplay, because that's probably the biggest, most obvious thing. This gameplay, I think I can say, is a weird combination, a very strange combination of like a top-down survival horror game with a turn-based with an action turn-based system that is surprisingly reminiscent of Resident Evil Gaiden for the Game Boy, where you run into an enemy and then you enter this first-person mode, like this mode, right, like the screen we're looking at right now, where you can then choose from a variety of options. You can heal, you can do a close range attack that is risky, very risky. I'll explain that in a minute. Your character-specific special action for this guy, he can throw a rock at people. And for her, she can heal. And the other 2 party members that you'll eventually get also have their own thing. In addition, you also have 2 weapons, or can hold up to 2 weapons, that you can select from things that you find around the levels. You could find handguns, shotguns. You can find handguns, shotguns, revolvers of some kind, and if you're lucky, my personal favorite, the free ones. I call them the free ones. Like this dart, supply cost is none. As you can see on the right and down, it targets 1 enemy. It does damage of 90. It does not knock back, but it costs nothing to do. And it's long range. Versus your gun, which does 200 damage, no knockback, but costs 1 bullet. Your bullet being in the bottom right. Or, well, the bottom screen regardless. You know, it goes in order from bullets, handgun, revolver, shotgun, and serum. Serum is your healing item. You can actually use it at pretty much any time you want. You can use it basically in mid-fight, as long as it's your turn, you could just spam as many heals as you want, assuming you have them. And you're just wandering around, like, running to these shelves. Is there anything I can interact with? No. Is there anything I can grab? No. Okay, let me try this way. Can I interact with that? Yes, I can. I got a bullet out of it. Can I interact with this? Yes, I got a serum out of it. Etc., etc. And you know, you pass in front of the enemy and they see you, they get an exclamation point, all Metal Gear-like, and they start going after you. Some are fast, some are really slow, like this lady. 5-digit lock. You should see if there's any clues nearby. We picked up a little paper earlier. Documents. Store clerk's note. Combination of the back door changed. 37564. So you'll get very tiny puzzles like that. Not very much. You know, just pick up, find a note. I forgot the number. Find a note, solve a thing, open a door. Nothing too, there's not really any puzzles, really. It's more about balancing out. Oh, wrong button. It's more about balancing out 37564. 3, 7, 5, 6, 4. Now you got the door open. It's more about balancing out, is it worth it? Are you fighting one zombie or are you fighting 5 zombies? Because those are very different scenarios. If you're fighting one zombie, maybe you can get away with using your no-cost darts, your no-cost knife at close range, assuming you want to risk that. Or the first guy you have, he has that rock special ability. You can just throw rocks at people, and it does a decent enough amount of damage, and it's free. Or is the situation, or are there so many enemies and they're getting too close? Is it worth shooting them? Shooting them will deal way more damage, but bullets are a precious resource, and there's boss fights. Those boss fights will test you. The boss fights have, oh, hold on, significantly more health. They'll have significantly more health. They'll deal out way more damage. They'll zoom in close to you much faster than any regular zombies. And you'll really, really have to think about, do I save my ammo? Do I not use bullets on these weaker enemies? Or do you want to try and do that as much as possible. You want to use your weapons that don't cost anything to kill zombies, to get XP, to get a little bit stronger, have a little bit of health. You have a level up system, but mostly it's just damage and health. It's like, take out as many zombies as you can without using any resources. Or if you're, let's say you walk into a room and you get rushed by like 5 zombies all at once, which can happen. Get rushed by 5 zombies all at once, well, now you have to either use that ammo or take the damage. You can't do anything else about that. Like this. Oh no, there's 3 enemies. I could use the rock, throw it at this enemy, use the dart, which is no cost, throw it at the enemy. Oh, but that zombies have special moves too. Some of them can spew, some of them can vomit like at their stomach acid and lower your defense. Some of them, like zombified cops, can actually shoot you. Or multiple of your teammates if they have a shotgun. Or if they have just a wide swing. And probably the most terrifying thing, if your characters die, you can bring them back to life at the cost of 5 of your serums, which you don't want to do as much as possible. Serums, you can just spam it. I could just heal, 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 heal 20 times right now if I really wanted to. So, you know, you want to heal if you can. But you try not to waste as much as possible because the boss fights are real hard. They hit hard. They rush in fast. And now onto the terrifying thing I was talking about. The terrifying thing is that if an enemy gets too close, the borders of the screen start blinking in and out, like right now. And you gotta make a decision. You got your close range weapon of some kind. If you use it, you'll deal a lot of damage and knock the enemy back, but it costs a percentage of your character's health. So you don't want the enemy to get as close as possible because, well, if I use this fire axe right now, if the enemy is still alive, it'll scratch me while it recoils and hurt me for 35% of my health, which is a lot. But if I can kill it with this one attack, then I don't have to pay that HP cost. So you're like, is my axe going to do enough damage to kill it? It has full health. Can I kill it with just this one hit? If I can't, I'm gonna get hurt. Hey, I was able to kill it. So I did not have to pay the HP cost. It was worth it in the end. All is good with the world. But it doesn't always work out that way. And you'll get story cutscenes with these characters. Admittedly, the cast is a little on the generic side, especially if you've seen stuff like The Walking Dead. The story in itself is honestly probably the weakest point of the game. The art style, the combat, and the surprisingly decent soundtrack, I would say are its big defining points. Its story and characters are secondary. I'd probably give like the story and characters out of 10, probably a 5, solid 5. They're, you know, if a situation looks like it's gonna happen in a specific way from like a zombie film you've seen, it's probably gonna turn out like that. Oh no, a survivor locked himself up and a survivor is saying, hey, I'm not bit even though I'm bleeding. I wasn't bitten. He's probably gonna turn into a zombie and probably cause a whole lot of situations. Oh hey, this one guy is kind of a douchebag. He's got a gun. Is he gonna do something stupid? Probably, because this is a B zombie film. So you can probably predict most of what's going to happen. But what you can't predict is how combat is gonna work out, or what you're gonna find, because for all you know, running around this kitchen, you could find newspaper articles that'll give you a little bit of more backstory, or you can find ammo, or maybe even if you're lucky, a weapon or a knife, stuff like that. I would give the soundtrack for this game probably a 7, maybe an 8. It's a pretty good soundtrack, especially some later tracks. But I will say, you might want to get used to this music track that you're hearing right now, because this particular track plays for about half the game, maybe a little bit more than half. It's still a good battle music, and it kind of fits the horror theme, but you will kind of get bored of it over time. But by the time you get bored of it, a new music track will probably kick in, and you'll probably hear that. So overall, I give the soundtrack probably a 7. Yeah, 7.5. Let's go with 7.5. Probably give the soundtrack a 7.5. The visual style and combat probably like an 8, maybe a 9. It's very good for like. It's a very solid. Like if you were going to turn a horror game into an RPG, this is definitely probably the best way you could probably do it. But, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I I would probably, if I had to give this game a rating, like a full rating for everything, I'd probably give the game on a whole, probably like an 8. Maybe a 7.5 or an 8. On the whole. This is a pretty good game. I bought it on PlayStation Network for $25. I think $25 is a little much for it. But if you can get this game for $15 or less, get it. It is a very good game for $15. For $25, I don't know. Maybe that's a little pushing it. But if you can get it for 15 or less, you know, depending, maybe Steam sales, I don't know, then I would say, you know, go nuts. If you like zombie films, especially B zombie films like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Resident Evil 1 the movie, or the Walking Dead show, specifically like the first 3 seasons, you're gonna have a good time. A very cheesy, kind of predictable but fun zombie adventure. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I give Raging Bytes a 7.5 out of 10 glitches. Take care, everybody. I'll see you around.